Hi people, it's Archivist here, and today I'm here to talk to you about StarCraft 2. This video will be a basic tutorial going through the role of each of the Terran units, but before I do that, let me quickly explain what StarCraft 2 is for those of you who may not know. StarCraft 2 is a real-time strategy game, or RTS for short. In a RTS, rather than just controlling one person like you do in a first-person shooter, you instead control an entire army. While this may not be quite as immersive, it does allow for a lot more variety in each battle, as there are so many different ways to defeat your opponent. In order to create your army, you first need to gather resources, of which there are two. The first are minerals, which are used to create pretty much every structure and every unit in the game. There is also Vespene gas, which is typically used to make more advanced units. In this video, I will be giving you a quick overview of the Terran army. Enjoy. The most basic unit that you start off with is the SCV. These are builder units which can be used to create structures for the Terran, but can also collect resources and return them to your base. While they can indeed fight, their low health and weak damage output means that they aren't exactly ideal warriors. The Marine is one of the most iconic StarCraft units, and is also one of the most versatile. The Marine uses an assault rifle that can fire at both ground units and air units. By themselves, Marines are not very effective, however their cheap build cost means that you can very quickly create an effective group. The Marauder is a slightly more expensive ground unit that has more health and damage than the Marine. Their grenade launchers are especially effective against enemy armour. They can also be upgraded with concussive shells that slow enemy movements. Although the Marauder is a fairly reliable ground attacker, they cannot shoot air units. The Reaper is a fairly specialist unit. The jetpack not only allows it to move faster than standard infantry, but also means it can jump up and down cliffs. The Reaper is great for attacking enemy supply lines in the early game, however in the late game it isn't nearly as effective. The Ghost is the most specialised of the Terran infantry. These assassins make use of snipers that can attack both ground and air units for a moderate amount of damage. They also have a special ability known as Sniper Round, which does bonus damage for a small energy cost. They can also deploy an EMP, which damages Protoss shields and reveals cloaked units. The Ghost can also activate a personal cloaking device, allowing it to become invisible. Finally, the Ghost can also call down a tactical nuke. Moving on to Terran vehicles, the Hellion is an incredibly fast car equipped with a flamethrower. The Hellion is great for outmaneuvering large groups of weak units such as Zerglings or Marines. It also makes for an effective scout. You can even upgrade the Hellion so that it can transform into the Hellbat. The Hellbat has a slightly different firing pattern to the Hellion that makes it better for taking on units closer to it. It also has enhanced armour, however it does move a great deal slower than the Hellion. My favourite unit in the Terran army though would have to be the Siege Tank. In its normal mode, the tank can move around freely with a direct fire cannon. After entering Siege mode, the tank gains a more powerful area of effect cannon, however it cannot move. The newly introduced Widow Mine is unable to attack by default. The Widow Mine can only attack when burrowed underground, and it must recharge after every missile launch. However, when it does fire, the Widow Mine does heavy damage to both ground and air units, making it great for ambushes. The Mighty Thor is a walking gun battery capable of attacking both air and ground units to deadly effect. The Thor can use javelin missiles against air units, which make it perfect for destroying swarms of tightly packed enemies. While the Thor is indeed very powerful, it is weak against large numbers of ground units such as Zerglings, Marines or Zealots, because it can only damage one unit at a time. Moving now to the Terran air fleet, I'll start off with the Medevac. The Medevac has two main uses, transportation and healing. If your biological units such as Marines are taking a lot of damage in battle and you don't want to retreat them, a Medevac can be used to heal them back to full health. This however does make the Medevac a prime target. The Viking, like the Hellion, has two modes. In aircraft mode, it is a competent air-to-air fighter that fires bursts of missiles that make it effective for hit-and-run attacks. In their walker mode, they can only attack other ground units. Although they don't have a lot of health, so you should be ready to retreat them if they become the focus of enemy fire. The Raven is a detector unit that doesn't actually have a default attack, but does have a lot of special abilities. The auto turret can be an effective tool for disrupting enemy supply lines, and the Seeker missile is a high damage area of effect weapon that takes a while to lock on. The Banshee is a powerful air-to-ground attack unit that has the power to cloak for an energy cost. If your opponent hasn't prepared for an invisible attack, the Banshee can be absolutely devastating. It is vulnerable however to other air units, as it has no way of retaliating. Finally, we come to the battlecruiser, an absolute juggernaut of a unit capable of taking enormous amounts of damage before going down. The battlecruiser doesn't come cheap though, and so you must make sure that they are worth the investment. They are able to attack both air and ground units, however their damage output isn't particularly high. The battlecruiser can also be upgraded to use the Yamato cannon, which deals a huge amount of damage to its target. That was just a quick overview of the Terran army. If you haven't played StarCraft 2 before and want to give it a try, I would definitely recommend playing as the Terran first, as their mechanics are very intuitive. As always people, thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.